The sensor readings made no sense. Rillen checked them 3 times before calling his supervisor. Deep space was supposed to be empty in this sector. The galactic community had marked it as a dead zone 50,000 years ago. Nothing lived there. Nothing could live there. "I'm telling you, Tamar, there's something wrong with the equipment," Rillen said, tapping the display with his finger. The young scout had been monitoring the outer rim for 2 years without finding anything interesting. Now his screens showed impossible data. Tamar leaned over his shoulder, her 4 eyes narrowing at the readings. As chief science officer, she had seen plenty of malfunctions. This didn't look like one. Run a full diagnostic. Check every sensor twice. 20 minutes later, Rillen had his answer. The equipment worked perfectly. The readings were real. Something was transmitting from inside the quarantine belt. Complex electromagnetic waves, organized light patterns visible from space, massive structures that could only mean one thing: civilization. The emergency council meeting filled the chamber within an hour. Representatives from 40 species gathered in person. Thousands more joined through holographic links. Elder Brent took his seat at the head table, his aged face showing concern. He remembered the old stories. Every child in the galaxy learned about the forbidden sector. 50,000 years, Brent said slowly. 50,000 years we have avoided that region. Every probe we sent vanished. Every automated survey never returned. The ancient warnings were clear. That zone is death. "The readings don't lie," Tamar insisted, projecting the data for everyone to see. "There are structures, energy signatures, radio transmissions. Someone built a civilization on one of those worlds." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Fear mixed with curiosity. The galactic community included 300 species across 200,000 star systems. They had explored most of the galaxy, but some places remained off limits for good reason. "Which world?" asked a counselor from the back. "The third planet orbiting the yellow star," Rillen answered. "The locals appear to call it Earth." "A yellow star," someone gasped. "Yellow stars burned hot, too hot. Most civilized species evolved under gentle red or orange suns. Yellow stars blasted their planets with deadly radiation." Brent shook his head. "We should leave it alone. The quarantine belt exists for our protection." "With respect, Elder," Tamar said firmly, "we need to investigate. If someone survived there, we need to know how, and we need to know if they pose a threat." The debate lasted 4 hours. Finally, they voted. The motion passed by a narrow margin. They would send a manned observation mission. Not a probe, not automated. Real observers who could think and adapt. They would approach carefully, maintain maximum distance, and report everything they found. Captain Drell received the assignment that evening. He was a veteran explorer with 30 years of experience. He had mapped unknown systems and made first contact with 6 different species, but he had never investigated a death world before. "You'll have full support," Tamar told him during the briefing. "Every major network wants to broadcast this. The entire galaxy will be watching." Drell nodded slowly. "How close do we get?" "As close as safety allows. We need visual confirmation. We need to understand what we're dealing with. And if they're hostile, then we run fast." The observation ship launched 3 days later. Drell commanded a crew of 12 representing 8 different species. Rillen came along as the primary sensor operator. A young officer named Fina handled communications. Medical officer Tobin monitored the crew's health. Everyone felt the weight of billions watching through the live feed. They crossed into the quarantine belt on the 4th day of travel. Immediately, the crew felt something change. Not physically, psychologically. An inexplicable sense of wrongness, like approaching a predator's den. "Ancient instincts," Tobin explained. "Our ancestors evolved to fear certain places. This sector triggers those old warnings." "The star is massive," Rillen reported, studying his screens. That yellow sun puts out incredible energy. The radiation levels near those inner planets would cook most of us alive. Fina shivered despite the comfortable temperature. How could anything survive there? Maybe they evolved differently, Drell suggested. Maybe death worlds create death world species. That thought silenced the bridge. Across the galaxy, trillions watched and wondered the same thing. What kind of beings could thrive in conditions that would kill everyone else? Would they be monsters, warriors, something beyond galactic understanding? The ship moved deeper into the system. The third planet grew larger on their screens, blue and white, beautiful from a distance, deceptively peaceful looking. Full scan, Drell ordered. I want to know everything about that world. The sensors worked overtime. Data flooded in faster than the computers could process it. Rillen watched the numbers climbing with growing disbelief. Captain, he said quietly, you need to see this. The atmospheric composition appeared first. Nitrogen, oxygen, trace gases, normal enough except for one detail. 21% oxygen, Rillen read aloud. That's toxic. That's beyond toxic. That's lethal to most species we know. Tobin checked his medical database. Oxygen is corrosive. In high concentrations, it damages tissue, burns cells. Most civilized species breathe between 8 and 12% oxygen. 21% would poison us slowly. There's more, Rillen continued. Gravity reading is 1.3 times standard. That's classified as a high-gravity world. Long-term exposure would crush our bones. And the radiation, Drell asked. Off the charts. That yellow sun pumps out more energy than 3 red stars combined. The surface receives constant bombardment. The crew stared at their screens in horrified fascination. They were looking at a death world, a real death world, the kind that appeared in scary stories told to children. Yet the sensors showed life, billions of life signatures, energy grids, satellite networks, cities visible from orbit. Somehow, impossibly, a civilization thrived down there. Get me visual confirmation, Drell ordered. Launch the observation drones. I want to see what we're dealing with. The drones deployed silently. They descended through Earth's atmosphere, transmitting everything back to the ship. The crew gathered around the main display. Across the galaxy, trillions held their breath. The first images arrived. Structures, roads, vehicles, technology, clear signs of intelligent life. But the resolution wasn't good enough yet to see the beings themselves. Closer, Drell commanded. I need to see them. The drones moved lower, enhanced their cameras, focused on a populated area. The image sharpened, and there, walking through their cities, going about their lives, were the inhabitants of Earth. Humans. The crew froze. Fina made a small sound of confusion. Tobin leaned forward, studying the images carefully. They looked soft, fragile even. No natural armor, no thick hide, no obvious weapons or defenses. Just bipedal beings with smooth skin and strange coverings that appeared to be artificial protection. How, Fina whispered, how could something that looks so delicate survive a world like that? Drell had no answer. None of them did. They had found the impossible, a death world filled with beings who appeared utterly unsuited for the harsh environment they called home. And the entire galaxy watched in complete confusion. The observation satellites deployed around Earth like a net of silent watchers. Each one carried advanced sensors designed to study civilizations from a safe distance. Captain Drell authorized full surveillance. They needed answers. Start with basic documentation, he ordered. Population counts, technology assessment, cultural patterns, everything. Rillen coordinated the satellite network, while the rest of the crew monitored different aspects of human society. What they found defied every assumption about habitable worlds. Humans lived everywhere, not just in the comfortable zones, everywhere. Fina pulled up thermal imaging of the northern regions. Captain, there are human settlements in areas where the temperature drops below freezing, way below freezing. Some of these locations register at -40 degrees. That's impossible, Tobin said flatly. Most species die in those conditions. The cold alone would shut down biological functions. They're not just surviving, Fina continued. They're thriving. Look at these structures, permanent buildings, transportation networks. They built entire cities in frozen wastelands. Rilland switched the display to equatorial regions. Here's the opposite problem. These areas reach 50 degrees above standard temperature. The humidity is crushing. We'd need environmental suits to breathe there, but humans are living there in the millions. The evidence kept mounting. Humans occupied scorching deserts where water was scarce. They built cities on unstable geological zones prone to earthquakes. They farmed in areas with violent seasonal changes. They even lived on small islands surrounded by vast toxic oceans filled with predators. They adapt, Tamar observed, watching from the ship's communication link. Whatever environment they find, they adapt to it. Or they're insane, Fina muttered. Tobin began analyzing human physiology through the medical scanners. What he discovered made him call Drell immediately. Captain, you need to see this biological assessment. The data appeared on screen. Human anatomy, basic but effective. 2 arms, 2 legs, standard bilateral symmetry. But the details revealed something extraordinary. Their bones are incredibly dense, Tobin explained. Built to withstand that high gravity constantly. Their muscle structure is designed for endurance, not speed, not strength. Endurance. They can maintain physical activity for hours without stopping. What about the oxygen? Drell asked. That's the fascinating part. Their blood carries oxygen using iron-based molecules, hemoglobin. It's extremely efficient. They process that toxic atmosphere and use it for energy. The high oxygen content that would poison us makes them stronger. Rilland pulled up footage of humans engaging in what appeared to be recreational activities. Sports, games, entertainment. One video showed humans jumping from elevated platforms with fabric devices that slowed their descent. They're falling from heights that would kill most of us, Rilland said incredulously, and they're doing it for fun. Another video showed humans riding waves in the ocean. Massive walls of water that could crush bodies. The humans balanced on boards, laughing and cheering. Recreational risk-taking, Tobin noted. They engage in dangerous activities by choice, for enjoyment. Fina found something even more disturbing. Captain, they keep predators as companions. The images showed humans living with 4-legged carnivores, creatures with sharp teeth and strong jaws. Animals that bore resemblance to pack hunters. These animals are called dogs, Fina read from the translation database. They descended from wolves, apex predators. Humans domesticated them thousands of years ago. Now they live together. Humans trust these predators around their children. Their children, Tobin repeated. Let me show you something about human offspring. He pulled up footage of young humans playing. Running, climbing structures, falling and getting back up. Human children are incredibly resilient. Watch this. A young human fell from a climbing structure, landed hard on the ground. The crew winced, but the child simply stood up, brushed off dirt and continued playing. They have redundant biological systems, Tobin explained. 2 kidneys when one would work, extra capacity in their liver. Their skin heals rapidly. Minor wounds close within days. They can lose significant blood and survive. They can break bones and recover fully. What kind of evolution creates that? Fina asked quietly. The kind that happens on a world that tries to kill you every day, Drell answered. Rilland intercepted human communication signals, radio, television, internet traffic. The translation computers worked overtime processing thousands of languages. Humans didn't have one unified communication system. They had thousands, different cultures, different beliefs, different ways of organizing society. This doesn't make sense, Rilland said. They're not unified, they have different nations, different governments, they compete with each other, sometimes they fight. Yet they cooperate, Tamar noted from her station. Look at their space station. Multiple nations work together to build it. They share resources, exchange information. Despite their differences, they find ways to work together. The crew watched footage of human rescue operations, buildings on fire, humans in protective gear running inside, pulling others to safety, ships sinking in violent oceans, humans diving into the water to save drowning people, natural disasters destroying cities, humans digging through rubble with their bare hands. They save each other, Fina said softly, even at risk to themselves. That's not logical, Tobin observed. From a survival standpoint, risking your life for another doesn't make evolutionary sense. Unless cooperation is how they survived, Drell suggested. Maybe on a world that harsh, helping each other is the only way to make it. Across the galaxy, the live feed showed everything. Trillions of beings watched humans go about their daily lives. Opinions formed quickly. Some species called for immediate military intervention. Death worlders were dangerous, too dangerous to contact. Others saw opportunity, a species that tough could be useful, could be controlled, could be exploited. Religious groups declared humans were either divine or demonic. Scientists demanded more observation. Philosophers debated the ethics of contact. The Galactic Network had never seen such viewership. Every channel broadcast nothing but Earth, human culture, human technology, human biology, the death world species that shouldn't exist. Rilland made another discovery. Captain, the humans have detected us. What? They have space telescopes, primitive but functional. One of them spotted our observation satellites. They're tracking our position. Drell felt his pulse quicken. Are they preparing weapons? No, sir, they're doing something else. Rilland pulled up the data. They launched a probe headed in our general direction. It's moving slowly, chemical propulsion, very basic, but it's definitely aimed at us. A weapon? I don't think so. The design is wrong. It's not aerodynamic for combat. It looks more like a message container. The probe drifted through space on a preset course. The observation satellites tracked it carefully. As it came closer, the scanners revealed its contents. No explosives, no biological weapons, no threats. Just information, mathematical sequences, scientific diagrams, images of Earth, pictures of humans engaged in various activities, and sounds, music from different cultures, greetings in hundreds of languages. Fina listened to the translated messages with tears forming in her eyes. They're introducing themselves. They're saying hello. They want to meet us. The simple golden disk attached to the probe contained everything humanity wanted the galaxy to know. We exist. We're intelligent. We mean no harm. We hope you come in peace. Drell stared at the probe on his screen. A death world species. Survivors of impossible conditions. Beings who kept predators as pets and raised children in environments that would kill most galactic citizens. And their first message to the cosmos was hope. Retrieve it, Drell ordered. Bring it aboard. We need to study everything they sent. As the probe was carefully captured and brought into the cargo bay, Rilland noticed something on his sensors. Captain, we're not alone anymore. Explain. More ships are arriving, dozens of them. Every major species in the galaxy is sending observers. Everyone wants to see the humans up close. The space around Earth was becoming crowded, and somewhere down on the surface, humans watched the sky, wondering if they were ready for the answer to their ancient question. Are we alone? The galaxy was about to answer, and nothing would ever be the same. The golden probe sat in the analysis chamber, innocent and patient. Teams of linguists from 20 different species worked around the clock to decode every message humans had included. What they learned changed everything. They know mathematics, reported a Methodian translator named Gris. The same universal constants we use, hydrogen frequency, pi, the Fibonacci sequence. They understand fundamental physics. What about the languages? Tamar asked through the communication link. Over 200 languages included, different writing systems, different sounds, but the message is consistent across all of them. Gris paused, checking his translation matrices. Hello, peace, friend, hope. Those four concepts appear repeatedly. The images told stories the words supported. Humans of different colors and features, different clothing and customs, yet all gathered together in the recordings. Children playing, adults working, families sharing meals, universal experiences that transcended species. But it was the music that affected everyone most deeply. Fina listened to a human composition featuring stringed instruments and complex harmonies. The melody spoke of longing and beauty. Another piece used drums and voices in rhythms that made her pulse quicken. A third combined electronic sounds with natural vocals in ways she had never imagined. They feel, she said quietly, they feel deeply. Tobin was analyzing the scientific information humans included, star charts, biological diagrams, chemical formulas. Their knowledge is limited but solid. They understand their own planet well. They've studied their solar system. They know basic physics and chemistry. For a species this young, their scientific progress is remarkable. How young? Drill asked. Based on their technological signatures, they achieved industrial civilization only about 300 years ago. Modern electronics may be 100 years. Space travel less than 100. They're infants by galactic standards. The implications settled over the crew like heavy weight. Humans had gone from primitive technology to space exploration in the blink of an eye, on a death world, while fighting gravity and radiation and toxic oxygen levels. Meanwhile, the Emergency Council meeting continued on the galactic homeworld. The chamber was packed. Every species wanted representation in this decision. The human probe was being broadcast across every network. Billions had heard the music and seen the images. Elder Brent addressed the assembly. We must decide our response. Do we make contact? Do we maintain distance? Do we intervene? A military commander from the Rishan Empire stood. These Death Worlders are dangerous. Look at their physical capabilities, their aggression. Their history includes constant warfare. We should establish quarantine protocols immediately. They reached out to us, countered a Valonian diplomat. They sent messages of peace. They want friendship. Words are easy, the commander shot back. Actions matter, and their actions show a species built for violence. They evolved hunting prey across their planet. They domesticated predators. They engage in combat sports for entertainment. A scientific representative from the Astharian Collective offered another view. But they also cooperate. They built a global communication network. They share knowledge across their cultures. They risk their lives to save each other. Violence isn't their only trait. The debate raged for hours. Some wanted immediate contact. Others demanded permanent quarantine. A few suggested studying humans secretly without revealing galactic civilization existed. What if they develop faster than light travel? Someone asked. What if they leave their system and find us unprepared? Then we need to guide them, Tamar argued. Help them develop responsibly. Show them there's a better way than conflict. Or they teach us conflict, the military commander warned. We've had peace for 10,000 years. These humans could destabilize everything. While the galaxy argued, Captain Drell made a decision. He had spent weeks watching humans, studying their behavior, reading their transmissions, and he had seen something the fearful voices missed. We're going to respond, he announced to his crew. Prepare a communication package. Include greetings in their major languages. Include images of our species. Include our own messages of peace. Captain, the Council hasn't authorized contact, Fina warned. By the time they finish debating, years will pass. The humans are waiting. They deserve an answer. Rillen pulled up human communication intercepts. They're excited down there. Their news networks are talking about nothing else. They know something is happening. They're hopping for contact. Tobin showed biological scans of human population centers. I'm detecting elevated stress hormones globally. Heart rates are up. They're anxious, afraid we might be hostile. Then let's ease their fear, Drell said. Gris, can you construct a message they'll understand? The linguist worked carefully, building phrases in multiple human languages. Simple concepts, clear intentions. We come in peace. We want to learn about you. We hope to be friends. Include images of our crew, Drell instructed. Let them see who they're talking to. Show them we're people too. The message was assembled over 3 days, carefully crafted, reviewed multiple times. It included mathematics to establish communication protocols, images of various galactic species engaged in peaceful activities, music from different worlds, and most importantly, an invitation. Meet us in neutral space. Near your moon, we will come in small numbers, unarmed. We want to talk. Send it, Drell ordered. The transmission beamed toward Earth on multiple frequencies. Radio, laser, every method humans used for communication. And then they waited. The response came within minutes. Human communication channels exploded with activity. Their governments coordinated frantically. Their space agencies prepared spacecraft. Their scientists worked to understand the alien messages. And underneath all the organized chaos was pure joy. They weren't alone. They're accepting, Rillen reported, monitoring the responses. Multiple nations are cooperating to send a delegation. They're assembling a team now. Fina listened to human broadcasts, news anchors crying with emotion, world leaders giving speeches about historic moments, regular people on the streets celebrating. They're happy. They're genuinely happy we contacted them. They're also terrified, Tobin added, watching biological readings. But they're going through with it anyway. They want to meet us despite their fear. Drell understood. He felt the same fear. What if this went wrong? What if humans were dangerous? What if the galaxy was right to be cautious? But what if they weren't? The observation satellites detected launch activity on Earth's surface. A spacecraft lifted off, heading for orbit. Then another. Humans were assembling their delegation in space, combining resources from multiple nations. They're moving fast, Rillen observed. Most species would debate for years before responding to first contact. Humans made the decision in days. Because they're brave, Fina said softly, or reckless. Maybe both, Drell suggested. The human delegation began their journey toward the moon. The spacecraft was primitive compared to galactic vessels, chemical rockets, basic life support, simple computer systems, but it flew true and steady. Drell prepared his own crew. 3 ships would represent the galactic community, small vessels, clearly peaceful in design. They would dock with the human craft and meet face to face. Across the galaxy, trillions watched the live feed. This moment would define the future. First contact between Death Worlders and the civilized species. Would it end in friendship or disaster? Captain, Rillen said quietly, we're being watched by half the galaxy. What if we're making a mistake? Then we make it together, Drell answered. But I don't think we are. I've watched these humans for weeks. They're not monsters. They're just people who had to be strong to survive. The ships moved into position near Earth's moon. The human delegation approached slowly, carefully. Both sides could still turn back. Both sides could abort contact and return to their separate existence. But neither did. The vessels moved closer. docking protocols engaged, hatches aligned, and through the transparent ports, humans and aliens saw each other for the first time with their own eyes. Drell took a breath. "Open the airlock, let's meet our neighbors." The hatch opened, and history began. The docking corridor connected two worlds. On one side stood Captain Drell and his carefully selected team, 8 individuals representing different galactic species, each wearing translation devices, each trying to control their nervousness. On the other side waited the human delegation, 5 people chosen to represent Earth: scientists, diplomats, a linguist, an artist, all wearing simple blue uniforms with a patch showing their pale blue planet. The airlock cycled, pressure equalized, the inner door opened. For a long moment, everyone simply stared. Humans looked even more fragile in person. Soft skin without scales or protective plates, eyes that showed every emotion, hands without claws. They stood in Earth's heavy gravity like it was normal, because for them it was. One human stepped forward slowly, a woman with dark skin and gray hair. She raised her hand in what their briefing documents called a peaceful gesture. "Hello, my name is Dr. Ruth Acaffer. We come in peace." The translation device rendered her words into galactic standard. Drell stepped forward as well, copying the gesture. "Hello, Dr. Acaffer. I am Captain Drell. We also come in peace." The tension broke like a wave. Humans smiled, showing their teeth. The briefing said this was friendliness, not aggression. Drell's team relaxed slightly. "May we enter?" Ruth asked. "We prepared a meeting area." "Of course." The combined group moved into a chamber the humans had prepared. Simple but functional. Chairs sized for different body types. A table with refreshments. Screens for displaying information. The humans had thought about their guests' comfort. "We brought gifts," Ruth said. She gestured to a younger human who produced several items. "Music from our cultures, art samples, mathematical proofs, and food, though we understand our biology might be very different." Fina accepted a small device containing music files. Her hands trembled slightly. "Thank you, we brought similar gifts." The exchange took several minutes. Humans offered samples of their achievements: paintings, sculptures, scientific papers, books of poetry. Galactic representatives shared their own cultural items: crystal harmonics from the Esthari, temporal tapestries from the Velonians, scent poetry from the Rishans. A young human male examined the temporal tapestry with wonder. "This is beautiful. How does it work?" "It shows events across time," explained Gris the linguist. "Past, present, and future woven together." "We dream of understanding time like that," the human said. His name was David. He was a theoretical physicist. "We have so much to learn." "We all do," Gris replied gently. "Learning is why we explore." Dr. Ruth guided the group through basic introductions. The humans shared information about Earth, its history, its diversity, its challenges. They spoke openly about their conflicts and their cooperation, their failures and their achievements. "We are not perfect," Ruth said honestly. "We fight among ourselves, we damage our environment, we make mistakes, but we try to do better, we try to grow." Tobin found this refreshing. Most species hid their flaws during first contact. Humans admitted theirs freely. A human artist named Lin showed paintings of Earth's landscapes: mountains, oceans, forests, deserts. "Our world is harsh but beautiful. It shaped us, made us who we are." "Your oxygen levels don't hurt you?" Tobin asked carefully. "Oxygen?" Lin looked confused. "No, we need it. We die without it." "But it's toxic, highly reactive. It damages organic tissue." "It also powers our cells," David explained. "Our bodies evolved to use it safely. Well, mostly safely. It does age us eventually." The casual way they discussed a lethal substance shocked the galactic representatives. Humans breathed poison and called it normal. Ruth noticed their concern. I think we're realizing how different our worlds are. What you consider deadly, we consider home, but that doesn't make us incompatible, just different. You're not afraid of us, Drell asked. Terrified, Ruth admitted with a smile, but also excited, hopeful, curious. We've wondered our whole history if we were alone. Now we know we aren't. That's worth being brave for. The conversation continued for hours. Humans asked endless questions about galactic civilization, technology, culture, history, species. They absorbed information like dry earth soaking up rain. The galactic team asked about human development, how they built civilization on such a difficult world, how they overcame their environmental challenges. We cooperate, Ruth explained. When the environment is trying to kill you, working together is the only option. We share knowledge, pool resources, support each other through disasters. But you also compete, noted the Rishan military observer. Your history includes wars. Yes, Ruth agreed sadly. We compete for resources, territory, ideologies. We're not proud of our violent history, but we're trying to move past it. Our space program is cooperative, multiple nations working together. It gives us hope. Lynn added, art helps too. Music, stories. They remind us we're all human despite our differences. They connect us emotionally. Fina understood completely. She had been moved by human music. It spoke to something universal. Then an alert sounded. Rillan checked his communicator. Captain, we have a situation. Emergency transmission from mining outpost Sigma 7. What kind of emergency? Collapse. The main shaft caved in. Workers trapped deep underground. High gravity environment. Radiation levels rising. Standard rescue teams can't operate there safely. The room fell silent. Mining accidents were rare but devastating. Sigma 7 was a remote outpost on a resource-rich asteroid with harsh conditions. The trapped workers were from 3 different species. None adapted for that environment. Ruth spoke first. How harsh are the conditions? Tobin pulled up the data. 2.1 times standard gravity. Temperature fluctuations of 40 degrees. Radiation exposure increasing every hour. Toxic gas leaks. It's beyond our safety limits. But within hours, Ruth said quietly. Everyone looked at her. Earth gravity is 1.3 standard, David explained. We train for higher. Our space workers practice in 2.5 gravity regularly. The radiation levels you're describing are high but survivable with proper shielding. The temperature swings are less than we experience naturally. You're offering to help, Drell asked carefully. Ruth looked at her team. They nodded. We have rescue specialists on our ship, search and recovery experts, medical personnel. If you give us the specifications, we can adapt our equipment. Those workers need help now. Our biology gives us an advantage in those conditions. This would be dangerous, Drell warned, even for you. Rescue is always dangerous, Ruth replied. But that's why we train, that's why we prepare, because when someone needs help, you don't calculate the risk first. You just help. The galactic representatives exchanged glances. This was unprecedented. Humans offering to risk themselves for aliens they just met, for people from worlds they'd never seen, for strangers who many in the galaxy feared them. The Council hasn't authorized this level of cooperation, Fina said nervously. Then we ask forgiveness instead of permission, Drell decided. Captain Akafer, if your people can help, we accept gratefully. Ruth stood. Give us 2 hours to prep. We'll need the mining outpost schematics, environmental data, information about the trapped workers' biology so we can stabilize them properly. You'll have everything, Drell promised. As the humans prepared to leave, David paused. Thank you for trusting us. We won't let you down. Thank you for being willing to try, Drell replied. The human delegation returned to their ship. Immediately they began preparing, gathering equipment, modifying environmental suits, reviewing the rescue protocols. Across the galaxy, news of the mining disaster spread. Then news of the human offer. Opinions exploded. Some called it foolish. Others called it noble. Many wondered if Death Worlders could actually succeed where trained galactic rescue teams had failed. Ruth gathered her rescue team, 4 specialists, 2 engineers, 3 medical personnel, all trained for extreme environment operations. "This is our chance," she told them. "Our chance to show the galaxy who we really are, not warriors, not threats, just people willing to help." The team nodded. They understood. This moment would define humanity's relationship with the stars. "Suit up," Ruth ordered. "We have people to save." And the galaxy held its breath. The mining outpost appeared on their screens like a broken tooth. Half the structure had collapsed into the asteroid's surface. Warning lights flashed across the remaining sections. Inside, 3 workers waited in darkness, running out of time. Ruth reviewed the rescue plan one final time. The shaft descended 400 meters before the collapse. High radiation zone. Gravity 2.1 standard. Air contamination at 30% toxic gases. Temperature currently at -15 degrees but rising due to equipment fires. Her team checked their suits. Modified Earth designs built for extreme environments. Extra shielding for radiation. Reinforced joints for high gravity. Redundant oxygen systems. The kind of equipment humans developed because Earth taught them to prepare for worst-case scenarios. "Remember, we're rescuing Esthari, Velonian, and Rishan workers," Ruth continued. "Different biologies, different tolerances. We need to stabilize them before moving them." A rescue specialist named Carlos spoke up. "The Esthari are crystalline. They can handle radiation better than us, but the gravity will crush them. The Velonian is gaseous at normal pressure. The compression down there could be fatal. The Rishan has standard biology, but their tolerance for toxins is much lower than ours." "So we work fast," Ruth said. "Get in, stabilize, extract." Medical team stands by for immediate treatment. Drell watched the human preparations with concern and hope. "Captain Akafer, our rescue protocols require extensive planning, days sometimes. You're deploying in hours." "Because those workers don't have days," Ruth replied simply. "On Earth we have a saying, time and tide wait for no one, neither does death." The human rescue ship detached from the diplomatic vessel. Small but sturdy. Built for Earth's harsh conditions, it handled the asteroid approach easily. The crew barely noticed the increased gravity that would have strained most galactic vessels. "Approaching the collapse site," reported the pilot. "I can land within 50 meters of the shaft entrance." "Do it," Ruth ordered. The ship settled onto the asteroid's surface with practiced ease. The rescue team assembled at the airlock. They moved in Earth's crushing gravity like it was nothing, because compared to home, it was nothing. "Comms check," Ruth said. "Reading you clearly," Drell responded from the observation vessel. "The entire galaxy is watching. No pressure." Ruth smiled. "We train for pressure." The team deployed. 4 humans in bulky suits carrying equipment that would seem primitive to galactic technology but was proven reliable in Earth's harshest environments. Cutting tools, medical supplies, structural supports. Simple, functional, effective. They reached the shaft entrance. The collapse had crushed the automated lift system. The passage descended into darkness at a steep angle. Unstable rock. Active radiation source nearby. Warning signs flashing in 3 galactic languages. "Rope descent," Ruth ordered. "Carlos, you're first. Test the stability as you go." Carlos clipped into the rope system and began rappelling down. On Earth, rescue workers did this in caves, mountains, collapsed buildings. The principle was the same, just the location was different. "Stable at 20 meters, Carlos reported. "Rock is holding. I see the first blockage at 40 meters." The team descended one by one, moving carefully but confidently. The high gravity pulled at them harder than Earth's. Their muscles strained. Their hearts worked overtime, but they had trained for this, pushed their bodies to limits most galactic species never imagined. At 60 meters, they found the first problem. A massive rock wedged in the shaft, too large to move, too unstable to blast. We go around, Ruth decided. She examined the shaft walls. There's a fracture line here. We can widen it enough to squeeze through. The cutting tools sparked to life. Human technology might be primitive, but it worked. They carved a bypass around the obstruction, tight space, uncomfortable but passable. At 120 meters, they heard something. Tapping, rhythmic, deliberate. They're alive, Ruth said. They're signaling. The team moved faster, descended deeper. The radiation levels climbed. Their suit sensors screamed warnings, but the shielding held. Earth had nuclear disasters. Humans learned to work in radiation. At 280 meters, they found them. The three workers huddled together in a small cavity. The Esthari was dimming, their crystalline structure showing stress fractures. The Valonian had compressed into a dense cloud, struggling to maintain cohesion. The Rishan was conscious but weak, breathing shallow. "We've got you," Ruth said through her translator. "We're from Earth, we're here to help." The workers stared at the humans in disbelief. Death worlders, in conditions that would kill most galactic rescue teams, reaching them when no one else could. The medical team moved immediately. They had studied alien biology during the approach, improvised treatment protocols. The Esthari needed pressure relief. They constructed a support frame to distribute the gravity load. The Valonian needed containment. They provided a pressurized medical pod. The Rishan needed clean air. They shared their oxygen supply. "Can you move them?" Drell asked over the comm. "Working on it," Ruth replied. "The Esthari is fragile. The Valonian needs constant containment. The Rishan can probably walk with support." Carlos rigged a pulley system, ancient technology, rope and leverage. But it worked on Earth's mountains for thousands of years. It would work here. "We're coming up," Ruth reported. "Slow ascent. The Esthari can't handle sudden pressure changes." The extraction took 3 hours. Careful, patient. The humans moved with practiced efficiency. On Earth, they rescued people from collapsed mines, sinking ships, avalanche zones. This was just another Tuesday. They emerged from the shaft as the asteroid's sun rose. The rescue team carried 3 survivors, exhausted but alive. The human suits were damaged. Radiation exposure high but survivable. Mission successful. The medical ship stood ready. Galactic doctors received the survivors with relief and gratitude. Specialized care began immediately. The prognosis was good. All 3 would recover fully. Ruth and her team collapsed on the ground. Even Death Worlders had limits. They had pushed past theirs. Drell approached, his expression showing deep respect. "You saved them, against conditions we considered impossible." "We almost didn't," Ruth said honestly. "It was close, very close. But you succeeded. You risked everything for people you never met, from species you just learned existed." Ruth sat up slowly. "That's what people do. When someone needs help, you help. It doesn't matter if they're from Earth or another galaxy. Life is precious everywhere." Across the galaxy, the live feed showed everything. Humans descending into hell. Humans emerging with survivors. Humans proving they were more than violent Death Worlders. The galactic narrative shifted in real time. Social networks exploded with support. The Esthari Collective issued formal thanks. The Valonian government requested human rescue specialists for training programs. The Rishan Empire withdrew its military objections to human contact. In the Galactic Council chamber, the debate ended. Elder Brent stood. "I was wrong. I feared Death Worlders because I didn't understand them. These humans show us that harsh environments don't create monsters. They create survivors. And survivors understand the value of life." The vote was unanimous. Humanity would be offered provisional membership in the galactic community, full diplomatic relations, cultural exchange, technology sharing, a partnership based on mutual respect. Tamar sent the message to Drell. Tell the humans, tell them they're welcome among the stars. Drell approached Ruth. She was still in her damaged suit, covered in asteroid dust and exhausted beyond measure, but she smiled when she saw him coming. Captain Akefer, I have news from the Galactic Council. If it's a fine for unauthorized rescue operations, we'll pay it, Ruth joked. No fine, an invitation. Humanity is invited to join the galactic community, provisional membership effective immediately. Ruth stared at him, then tears formed in her eyes. Really? After everything, after seeing what we are? Because of what you are, Drell corrected. You're brave, compassionate, strong when needed, gentle when possible. You're exactly what the galaxy needs. Ruth hugged him before she could stop herself. The gesture surprised them both, but Drell returned it awkwardly, a moment of connection between species from different worlds. When they separated, Ruth was laughing and crying simultaneously. Wait until Earth hears about this. We're not alone, and we're invited to join something bigger than ourselves. Welcome to the galaxy, Drell said warmly. Welcome home. 3 months passed like a dream. Earth's governments worked together in ways they never had before, united by a common purpose, preparing for galactic citizenship, building embassies, training diplomats, learning about the hundreds of species they would soon call neighbors. The first human delegation arrived at the Galactic Council homeworld on a warm morning. Ruth led the team, accompanied by scientists, artists, engineers, and cultural ambassadors. Their ship was still human-made, still primitive by galactic standards, but it flew with pride. Drell met them at the landing platform. Around him stood representatives from 40 species, a formal welcoming committee, cameras broadcasting to trillions across the galaxy. Welcome to Unity Station, Drell said, using the formal greeting. May your journey bring wisdom and your presence bring joy. Ruth bowed respectfully. Thank you for this honor. Earth sends its gratitude and hopes for lasting friendship. The formalities completed, the real work began. Humans needed embassy space, cultural exchange programs, technology sharing agreements, educational partnerships, trade negotiations. The list seemed endless. But humans approached it all with characteristic enthusiasm. David, the physicist, joined the Galactic Scientific Collective. His first meeting brought together researchers from 15 species. They discussed unified field theories, quantum mechanics, faster-than-light travel. On Earth, we're still working on the basics, David admitted. But we have fresh perspectives. Sometimes looking at a problem with new eyes helps. The lead HFY scientist, a crystalline being named Harmony, agreed. Your persistence hunter evolution gives you interesting problem-solving approaches. You don't give up easily. Can't afford to on Earth, David replied. The environment doesn't give second chances. Lynn, the artist, organized the first human-alien cultural exhibition. Paintings from Earth, crystal harmonics from HFY, temporal tapestries from Velonia, scent poetry from Risha. The diversity amazed everyone. A young Velonian artist approached Lynn nervously. Your paintings show such raw emotion, pain and beauty together. How do you capture that? Earth taught us, Lynn explained. Our world is harsh but beautiful, deadly but life-giving. Everything exists in contrast. That duality shapes how we see reality. The Velonian considered this. My people evolved in gentle environments. Our art celebrates peace and harmony, but your art shows struggle, survival. It's powerful in ways we never explored. Maybe we can learn from each other, Lynn suggested. Combine our approaches, create something neither of us could make alone. The collaboration began that day. New forms of art emerged. fusion pieces that blended alien grace with human intensity. They became extraordinarily popular across the galaxy. Meanwhile, Ruth worked on integration protocols. Humans couldn't visit most worlds without protection. Their biology was too different, but they could work in harsh environments where other species struggled. "We're receiving requests," Ruth told her team during a briefing. "Mining operations in high radiation zones, construction projects on heavy gravity worlds, research stations in toxic atmospheres, places that are difficult for most galactic species but manageable for us." Carlos grinned. "So Earth's terrible environment actually makes us valuable." "Exactly. What was a curse becomes a gift. Our adaptations help others." Human engineers began working across the galaxy, building habitats in places previously considered too hostile, mining resources in locations others couldn't reach, exploring planets that were written off as uninhabitable. And they did it cheerfully, with humor and determination, singing work songs in dozens of Earth languages, sharing meals with alien coworkers, building friendships across species lines. Fina was assigned as cultural liaison to Earth. She spent 2 months there visiting different continents, meeting different cultures, experiencing Earth firsthand. "I wore a protective suit the entire time," she told Drell later. "The gravity crushed me, the oxygen made me dizzy, the temperature swings were exhausting, but the humans were incredible, so welcoming, so excited to share their world." "What surprised you most?" "Their children. Human children are fearless. They climbed trees, jumped in water, ran and fell and got back up. They treated me like a friend, not an alien. One small human named Amy gave me a flower, just handed it to me and smiled. Pure kindness." Drell smiled. "They're teaching us that harsh environments don't destroy compassion. Sometimes they strengthen it." The integration continued. Human doctors studied alien biology. Alien engineers learned from human improvisation. Musicians collaborated. Philosophers debated. Students from both human universities and galactic academies exchanged knowledge. Not everything was smooth. Cultural misunderstandings happened. Humans were sometimes too direct for diplomatic comfort, too casual about danger, too willing to take risks, but they learned, adapted, grew. And the galaxy learned too. Learned that Death Worlders weren't monsters, that survival didn't require cruelty, that strength could be gentle and gentleness could be strong. 6 months after first contact, the formal ceremony took place. Earth's provisional membership became permanent. Humanity joined the galactic community as full members with all rights and responsibilities. The ceremony was broadcast across every network, humans and aliens standing together. Ruth accepted the membership charter from Elder Brent himself. "We were wrong to fear you," Brent said publicly. "We saw your world and assumed you would be violent, aggressive, dangerous. We failed to see that surviving hardship teaches lessons beyond combat. It teaches cooperation, compassion, the value of every life." Ruth responded carefully. "Earth is harsh. It made us tough, but it also made us appreciate beauty, treasure friendships, fight for those who can't fight for themselves. We're honored to join this community, and we promise to contribute not just our strength but our hope." The audience erupted in approval, thousands of species celebrating humanity's inclusion. That night, Drell and Ruth stood on an observation deck, watching Earth through the viewport, the blue and white marble turning slowly in space. "Your people are spreading fast," Drell observed. "Human workers in 15 systems already, students in 30 universities, artists in galleries across the galaxy. You're making your mark." "We're just excited to be here," Ruth replied. "For so long we wondered if we were alone. Now we know we have neighbors, family even. It changes everything." "What will you do now? Go home?" Ruth shook her head. "My work is here, building bridges, facilitating understanding. There's so much to do." "And your planet, Will humans leave Earth behind? Never. Earth is home. It will always be home. But now we have two homes, Earth and the galaxy. We're children of a death world, yes, but we're also citizens of the stars. Drell considered this. You know what the galaxy calls you now, not death worlders, not survivors, the bridge builders. Bridge builders. Because you connect us. Human endurance lets you work in places we can't. Human adaptability helps you understand species very different from yourselves. Human compassion makes you care about people you just met. You build bridges between worlds, species, and ideas. Ruth felt tears forming again. She seemed to cry a lot since joining the galaxy. Happy tears, grateful tears, tears of belonging. We like that name, she said softly. The bridge builders, it's who we want to be. They stood in comfortable silence, watching Earth turn. A harsh world that produced a gentle people. A death world that taught the value of life. A planet that seemed designed to kill its inhabitants, but instead taught them to protect each other. And across the galaxy, trillions watched that same world with new understanding. Not with fear, not with caution, but with welcome. Because humanity had proven something important. That where you come from matters less than what you do. That survival can teach compassion instead of cruelty. That the harshest environments can produce the kindest people. Earth had entered the galactic stage, not as conquerors, not as warriors, but as friends, helpers, bridge builders connecting the cosmos one relationship at a time. And the galaxy was better for it. High above Earth, a new space station was under construction. Joint human and galactic effort. It would serve as a hub for cultural exchange, education, cooperation, a symbol of what different species could build together. They called it Hope Station. Because that's what Earth brought to the galaxy. Not fear, not violence, not the death their harsh world might have created. Just hope. And hope, it turned out, was exactly what the galaxy needed.